everyone. Welcome back to the Smart Girl Podcast, where we keep it real about health, lifestyle, the black community, and everything in between from an urban millennial perspective. I am your host, M. Cherie, and today we are diving deep into a conversation that is way overdue. We are bringing attention to the battles of the sisterhood. In today's society, black women are considered the underdog. They say our attitudes and ratchet behavior are the reason we can't find a good man. They say our advanced degrees and independent nature is the reason black men won't wife us. And other cultures see us as loose women because of social media and the television presence of shows and sitcoms like Love and Hip Hop. And to top it off, black women seem to allow an unspoken competition for men, status, etc., to separate us from building upon the sisterhood. My guest and I are going to give our unfiltered perspective on the topic and address some of the foolishness that divides our beautiful black sisters. Today I have Miss Kamaria, a happily married educator from Atlanta, Miss Lavish Lana, an educator and devoted mother from Indiana, and Miss Tommi Cole, a singer-songwriter and model from New York. Ladies, thank you so much for being here. Let's get started. So listen, I was scrolling across Obama's internet and I stumbled across the article from an online blog. So this online blog, and I'm just gonna read an excerpt. It's called Melanin Muse. So it says, how are we as black women shaming another black woman for simply existing and being themselves? The stigma that we are not enough, as we were created centuries ago when enslaved black women were pitted against each other. If a black woman was dark skinned, she would not be as worthy as a light skinned woman, and her life was harder. If her hair was kinky and not curly, she was not good enough. Black women get enough criticism from the world on who they should and shouldn't be, what they should and shouldn't do. The last thing we need is harsh criticism amongst ourselves. So ladies, just think about that excerpt from that online blog. So how do you feel about the light skin, dark skin debate? What do you feel like that is a battle of the sisterhood?
Most definitely. I feel like you said, a lot of it started back in the days of slavery. And so nowadays, we're not technically in slavery, but what men desire, I feel like really influences how women portray themselves. So for example, like we're big on BBLs nowadays, you know, who is that for? Is that really for us? Or is that to attract a man, you know, for whatever reason. Right. But I feel like with the light versus dark, I don't think it's only just women. I think it's period. And a lot of times you hear like guys refer to light-skinned girls as, hey, sexy red. Not really her, but, you know, hey, red. Right. Hey, you know, they call it red bone. And, you know, it's a certain type of attitude that they say that the light-skinned people have or whatever. But it seems like either the preference of men is lighter skinned or lighter, you know, fair-skinned women or foreign. And they're looked at as to have a certain type of status or stature when they have a foreign, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like it definitely does. And because the men does have a bigger desire for the lighter colored women, it seems to give them a sense of, you know, we above y'all because we're the ones that they choosing, you know. Is it right? Absolutely not. I can't stand it because it's not the case. So
I agree. What do you all think?
Well, personally, I've never experienced any, you know, the light skin versus dark skin, you know, in my own personal life. However, my mom has told me, you know, back in the day, like in the 60s and 70s, it was a really big deal. And a lot of it was communicated as if light skin or lighter skin was pretty. was prettier.
You're
If
right,
you all
you're
recall the movie Imitations of Life, where the daughter in that movie was portraying herself as a white woman because she didn't want to be seen as a black woman because of all the things that they were experiencing during that time. And so, you know, my mom would tell me stories of her and her cousins sometimes being pitted against each other because you had the fair skin and you had lighter skin. Yes. And I was like, wow. It's like, but when I look back, I was like, well, you can't really fault, you know, great grandma or grandma for the things that they chose to communicate because that's what they knew. And a lot of it was deeply rooted in the trauma of being black and being a black woman or a woman of darker skin. So I think a lot of times when all of it started, it was deeply rooted in the trauma that a lot of black women experienced. And they, you know, was like, well, if I were lighter skin or closer to white, then I'll be treated better.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have anything to add to it?
Well,
Ms.
growing up, my experience was actually the opposite. Everybody in my family, well, in my immediate family, is darker skin. So I was like, I don't look like y'all, and I want to look like y'all. I want to blend in. I need to go tan it. I need to do something.
Right.
So I always thought darker skin was beautiful. Not more beautiful, but, you know, beautiful as well. Like, not any different. But I just wanted to fit in with them, so.
Right.
That's a big piece, fitting in.
Yeah.
Versus a lot of black women are looking to fit in versus stand out.
Yeah.
Because I guess we feel like standing out will kind of exile us from everybody else.
Right.
It does.
Even as grown women, I think like we still want to fit in or something like that, and we should want to be celebrating our differences and things like that. Like, you're from New York, I'm from Florida. Like, I can learn from you, you can learn from me, and stuff like that. And I just feel like even as grown women, we're still trying to, you know, the light skin, the dark skin and stuff. You know, you meet somebody fresh off the street or new to your workplace or something. Oh, she got pretty eyes. You know, she got that curly hair and stuff like that. And then you kind of, like, it might be a subconscious something in you that's like, maybe I want to go home and get me one of those little wet and wavy wigs to kind of, you know, like a subconscious wanting to be like that because that's what's more accepted. I don't know now, and like you said back then as well. So like to bring it, I guess, medium or music. So we all know Beyonce, right? I don't know if y'all like her, do y'all follow her, or y'all just kind of like over, you know, her music and whatnot. But I was thinking, like, if she was darker skinned, like a rapper, like say Cash Doll, if you all know of her, she's dark skinned. Tink, I think she's underrated. She's an R&B singer. But if Beyonce was dark skinned, do you all think she would be as accepted or, you know, perceived as, you know, this star of a person that we kind of look at today? Do you think it would matter, or you think it would be about the same?
I think it would be about the same because I'm a fellow Beehiver.
Oh, okay.
I love me some Beyonce. I listen to Beyonce
You be going
every. Listen, I don't go off on people. I'm not, you know.
You be in the comments, you be trolling.
I don't troll people. It's like, you know.
When they say
But
things.
I think, you know, talent is talent. Because even with when Kelly Rowland was doing her thing, she was on top at one point, and I think it was just her raw talent. I think
like
sometimes, y'all remember?
Yeah, well, you know, everybody don't listen to the same music. We black, you know, everybody don't listen to the same music.
You are right. But yeah, I think, you know, her talent and just what she brings to the table, kind of, it would have overshadowed any like her skin color. But I do see a lot of sometimes some of these celebrities, when you see them, it's like, is she white today? And like, I know, you know, when she started
Not
her
white today.
Yes, when she started her country music career, I noticed that a lot of the pictures she was taking, of course,
They
could
were
be
saying that. Did y'all hear that?
It
About
was,
like some
you
of
know,
her, she looked a little white.
a picture. Yeah, it's
with
like
the blonde hair. Y'all saw the pictures.
Yeah, if you go and you look
was
when
very
she
light.
started, I was like, Beyonce right here looking like a white woman.
She the new Michael Jackson.
Yes, that's what it looked like.
Yeah.
So sometimes that can kind of play on that colorism type deal. I know Tyla at one point was had some
She was in the news a
colorism
little bit.
controversy
Yep.
to where she didn't want to talk about colorism because for whatever reason I didn't follow it that much, but she brought colorism topics to the table, and then she really didn't want to talk about it. So I think that's what the controversy was. But I think Beyonce's talent, because she is talented. Okay, she's talented. I believe if she was white, black, purple, orange, I think she still would be on top because she just brings so much to the table. Hey, Beyonce.
Okay. All right, so my next question, ladies, is why do you think black girls or black women are so mean to other black girls or black women within our culture? And then the other part to that is, does self-hate play a part? So there's another, I do just be on a little blog sometimes, so I have this little excerpt from a blog, and I just want to read it to you all. So this is from a young lady. And she has like a bachelor's, I forgot what her degree is in, but she graduated from college, but she's talking about like how it was for her like growing up as a black girl versus her now. So she says, black girls were my first bullies growing up. I grew up and went to schools in a diverse community. I guess I'm what some would consider whitewashed if you're ignorant, because at a young age, I took a liking to rock and country music. Most of my favorite singers happened to be white, non-black. I dressed differently, spoke differently, and was even able to get along more with white children better. The black girls would pick on me for the most ignorant things. And this went on from the time I was a little girl up until high school, hell, even currently. I was bullied for stupid things such as wearing a cheap weave, to being told I acted like a white girl. Black girls called me ugly, made fun of the music I like, and Lord forbid, their little boyfriends or guys that they like tried talking to me, because then I have to worry about being jumped by them and their entire family. So she goes on to say, I've disassociated myself completely from other black women due to this mess. No matter how nice you are, how much you try to speak to them, compliment them, or even smile at them, they will forever be the cattiest women. I've never been disrespected more by any other group of people than I have by my own. I feel like that is so
100%.
deep. So why do you think that black women, why are we so mean to other black women and also black girls with black girls? Like why is that a thing? Because this lady, like I said, she graduated college, so she probably has a career and is doing amazing in life. But that's her, perception of, growing up with other black women and stuff like that, talking about her hair and things like that and whatnot. How do y'all feel about that?
I would say probably from how they're spoken to at home. Like, they don't know how to give a compliment without making it sound nasty sometimes. So that could be like how their mom speaks to them. For now, what they see on TV, most black women are arguing with each other or being mean.
Yep.
And it's just what they see. So they going to do it too, especially in, middle and high schools.
I think it's a mentality aspect of it. I think some women have this mentality that they are better than others, and so they think that if you're trying to do anything that may be better than them or may make them look bad, then they have an issue with you. You don't even have to say anything to them. Yeah. And it's like I've experienced that many times, and I'm a lover. I love people. I love to talk. I love to hug. And so when I meet people, I'm excited. Like you said, how we can learn from each other, being from different places.
Right.
I'm always looking to learn something from another woman. I just think everybody has something valuable to bring to whatever, and I'm always looking to learn. I'm a nerd, so I like to learn. And so I have this mindset when I'm meeting people like, oh my God, I love her. Like she's this, she's that. But then I'm not met with the same energy, and I'm just like, well, what, did I do something? Like, and I don't understand that. I really don't.
Can I ask you a question? Did you experience that when you were in New York or when you moved down here to Georgia?
Both.
Really?
house. And Buffalo, you know, up north, we're a little more meaner. You know, it's like somebody staring
Rough
at
around
you.
the edges,
What?
Mary J. Blige,
Rough.
that type.
Dragon fruit rough, like the outside of them. Prickly, that's and that's literally what it is. We dragon fruits on the outside, but we're soft and mushy on the inside, deep down. You know, we just need people to cut that shell off. But up north, you know, it was the same thing. Down here, though, it's still happening subtly. And women that do that, they don't think that I know, but I do, and it doesn't change how I act towards them. Or I try not to let it happen. It just depends on them. But when I first moved here, I had to change my mindset because I was so used to being. If I look at somebody a little too long, they're like, what's she looking at? You know?
Yeah.
And I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I was the same way. Like, why is she staring at me so hard?
That's the Atlanta vibe. Like, what's...
But when I got here and I got to the Southern hospitality, and I would be like, why is she staring at me? A girl or a female woman, whatever, would come up to me and say, oh my God, you're so pretty. And I was just like, dang. Here I am in my mind ready to fight the girl because she's staring at me.
Right.
And she think I'm pretty. So I had to stop thinking like that, you know, when I first moved here. But just deep down, I've always been the type that just loves to learn and love people. I want to hug everybody. Like,
That's what's up.
So I don't get it though. I don't understand that.
Right. Have y'all ever experienced that with the whole other black women treating, you know, making you feel some type of way, either in the workplace or just being out and about, grocery store, mean mugs, or just vibes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like Tommy, I'm a people person too. My husband will say this girl will make a friend in a dark movie theater. Lights off, we supposed to be watching a movie, and she over there cackling with the lady next to her. I'm like,
what's wrong with that?
what's wrong with that?
Right,
My
nothing.
sister, we talking. We is watching the movie together. But I think for me, because speaking from experience and being married, I think sometimes women are mean to other women because of their own insecurities. And so, like, for example, I'll see a real fine woman from 2 miles away. He ain't spotted her yet, but I'm standing here upset because I know she finna walk past, and there's a possibility he might look at her.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, here this heifer come. Here she come. But I had to check myself. It's like, that lady ain't did nothing to you. She ain't said nothing to you. She probably don't even want your man. So I had to check my own insecurities about myself, how I felt about myself. And when I started to really look deep down to check those insecurities, I was able to accept and be friends with a lot more women without trying to see how I can up one on them or compete with them or try to see about changing myself to look like them or be like them. It's like, no, we can all learn something from all of us. But I had to check my insecurities. And I think a lot of times when we don't look at those insecurities and those things within ourselves, that is when you get the mean girl mentality, because you see something in this other woman or this other girl that you either want to be and think you can't. So you are automatically just upset that, you know, because I'm an educator in elementary school, and I see it all the time. The 6 years that I've been teaching, the 6 years I've seen mean girl mentalities, and talking to young 10 and 11-year-old girls, I clearly see just it's an insecurity in that child. Whether they're not getting attention at home or whether they're experiencing some hardships in their families, it's like it comes off, it shows up as mean girl mentality because they are uncomfortable with it. So I think if we start to get a lot more comfortable with ourselves and, you know, check our own insecurities, it doesn't matter when a fine woman walk past your man, because me personally, I'll give props where props are due. Like me and my husband, we like to go to Hooters. So sometimes, you know, if I'm at Hooters, I'm like, hey, look at the rack on her. You know, it's like, hey, girl. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Period.
So because I had to check my own insecurities. I didn't want to point out beautiful assets on others because I felt I was ugly. But when I, you know, discovered.
Right.
Look alike.
Yes. So I can exist and coexist with other black women.
Okay. What do y'all feel about that when it comes to the workplace? So I don't know, like either previous places y'all have worked or even now, stuff like that. Have y'all ever felt like a mean girl or mean woman vibe or something like that? It could be somebody new to your job or somebody that's been working there, but you try to be that, not really a friend, but you try to be cordial or whatever because that's the workplace and things be professional, but they still kind of meet you with some weird vibes and whatnot because we have to work together, right? And see, like the job that we're in, I'm an educator as well. Well, we're educators, but like it's more women, right? So we have to be around each other all the time. And do y'all ever feel like it's ever weird sometimes when it's at work and you just try to do your job, be cordial, whatever, but you're still kind of met with a mean type of whatever spirit or things like that?
I definitely have. What about you?
Oh, no, not recently.
Okay.
Yeah, I see it a lot of times in leadership.
Okay, all right.
I see it a lot
Speak
of,
on it. Speak on it.
I see it a lot of times in leadership, and I don't know if it's I don't know what they're trying to do. I don't know if it's because of their title and their position, or is it them being just outright mean to other women. Like personally, my experience under Black female leadership, and this is just not in the school system. I've worked for the state of Georgia before, and all of my managers have been Black women, and every time it's always something and it's always something, and I'm like, I don't know if it's the title has gone to this person's head, or they have forgot what it feels like to be in this position. But I think as a leader, you have to you have to be willing to be approachable.
Yes.
And not look like, I know everybody isn't a morning person. Like me personally, I come in and I am happy-go-lucky from the time if I'm not that, people are like, what's wrong? Something's wrong. But I'm like that throughout the day. But I'll be met with leadership who aren't even smiling in the morning. And it's like, but you want these kids to come in and smile and be positive, but the first face they meet has a mean mug on it. So it's like,
but about something right now, some desks they got rearranged.
Unfortunately, she said, so unfortunately, in the workplace, the mean girl mentality sometimes comes from leadership, the ones who are above. And I know they have to try to be professional and, keep that work relationship, leader to, I guess, leady, I don't know. But honestly, it's like, it as a leader, you have to be approachable. And I have to be also able to trust you that you're not going to go and, talk about me behind my back or, behind closed doors. Now, she. So I'm like, but you in leadership. So we got to stop that too. When we get in those high positions, making sure that we don't have to be, unprofessional and around the way type girl, but still, be good to your people and they'll be good to you.
Yeah, man. Girl, you said a mouthful.
What's the story about just moving desks around? What?
Well, like the front office, I think that's just a little bit of tea that I heard. Like they switched.
Recently?
Yeah, the two ladies in the front, they switched them starting out this year because like the other lady has a more like her what's the word, countenance or whatever is a little bit more friendly or more welcoming. So when like parents or whatever come in and stuff like that, they'll see her instead of this other person. Now that's the tea that I was given as to why their desks are different. Yeah, like I heard from a parent that like, okay, when it was the old way or whatever last year, that it was coming in like, this lady is never smiling and she looks so mean and whatnot. And she might not be that way, but it's just the presentation when you first walk in the door and stuff like that. So that's just a little tea I heard about why their desks are switched. But yeah. So why do Black women feel like everything is a competition among us? Like when it comes to finding a man, when it comes to getting the higher leadership position at work, etc. Where does that come from? Y'all educate me. Why do Black women feel like everything is a competition?
Well, I am product of a teen mom. So I found myself, one of the things I learned in therapy about myself is I was trying to outrun and outlive the, I guess, mistake that my mom had made. So it's like I have to do all these things to show that she didn't mess up or that it wasn't a mistake. So I found myself competing, not only against myself, but it came off as competing with other women because I was trying to do all this stuff to show, look what she raised, look what she did. Yes, she had me at 14, but look. But then I had to, in therapy, I learned that I had to stop for a second. And it's like, yes, you can put all this stuff on your plate, but what is it really for? So a lot of Black women, I think, are competing for jobs, competing for men because we have been taught and we have been programmed to feel like we have to have all these things to be successful or somebody. And so I had to literally stop because I was doing a doctorate program. I'm teaching. I'm on this committee. I'm on that committee. I'm teacher of the year. I'm superintendent. I'm on the superintendent advisory committee. I was literally listen.
Can I use you for a reference in case I want to get a little bit? But anyway, continue. Yeah. Okay.
So I literally I had all this stuff on my plate, and I was literally running myself crazy.
Yeah.
Not even ragged. Crazy. Crazy. And so I was doing way too much. I was doing way too much. And then what started to happen is my health started to decline. And I started to experience things with my health that I'm like,
Any anxiety?
yes.
I've struggled with that.
I had a whole anxiety attack at work one day. And that's how I knew I need to stop.
Let this go.
Exactly. So, letting that stuff go and saying, you know what, life is a marathon and not a quick race.
Right.
I don't have to. I got time. Yeah. I don't have to try to get because I got to do all this before I'm 40. I got to do all this before I'm 35.
That's how I be feeling. I
got to do all this. Like girl, you ain't a principal yet. No. Because I'm taking my time now. And I'm enjoying life along the way. And I just think a lot of Black women have been programmed to think and feel that you ain't
shit.
If you...
Sorry. But go ahead. Yeah. We can. Go ahead.
You ain't shit. If you don't have children, house, car, husband making a bunch of money, career, all these degrees and plaques on your wall and stuff. And it's like, but you know what? There are things I do have that I am proud of. Yeah. And those are the things that keep me going. But a lot of this competition, it comes from insecurities, trying to outlive your parents' mistake, and you not being happy or being not being happy with your life as it is.
Yeah, I agree. I think
I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I mean,
do you ever feel like you in a rush to be or do by the time you get 40 or by the time you get 40, whatever certain age milestone? Do you still feel like that?
I don't anymore. I
should have been married by 30. Should have had them kids by 32. Should have had the house by 35, and then you go ahead and
I wanted my children. Well, I wanted to be married by 30, and I wanted to have my children by a certain age. That was what I wanted. I was like, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Absolutely did not happen like that at all. I was not planning, of course, to be a single mother of 2 children. I was not planning, but I feel like being the oldest is another reason. Yep. What you said is it, and I'm like, wow, it makes sense. I don't understand that perspective, but I understand the perspective of being the oldest. And so now being the oldest is like, it's this standard that you have to, that you are, it's an expectation. And then you set the standard, and they're always expecting those to come after you to rise. And that puts division between siblings, And so those are types of things. I didn't necessarily experience that in my family, but I just feel like with a lot of things, and really everything, people have to be self-reflective, regardless of what you're going through or whatever it is, because if you're self-reflective, then you start to think like what you did when you realize it's in you, in your head. Like the woman ain't did nothing to you or said nothing to you. So we have to reflect, because most of the things that we think in a negative way come from trauma. And so the trauma is typically from childhood. So if we've never gotten therapy, that's why I used to want to be, I used to have this mindset of what I was going to do. But now after therapy, I'm like, I'm not rushing to do it. I will get it done when people are like, I'm 43, y'all, I'm 43. And I don't mind telling people that. But I'm like, if people are like, when you going to get married? I might not ever get married. And I'm happy with that. That's okay. Like, I'm not going to let other people make me feel away because I'm not meeting what they expect. Yeah. But, of course, do I want to get married? But if I'm going to do that, then I need to prepare myself to be a wife. And a wife is not combative. She's not argumentative. She's going to submit to her husband. Yeah. And, and so those are the things that I am striving to do. I want to be a wife before I become a wife. What'd you say?
I'm still working on those.
It's not easy, okay? But I'm just saying that if I want a husband and I want my husband to come to me and want to lead and want to be gentle with me, then I have to be what he needs. And I can be submissive. Now, we all know that even though we're submitting to our husbands, we know that they cannot function without us. Not for real, for real. Yeah. Not for real, for real. Right. Not when we're equally yoked and it's a God-ordained marriage. He cannot do what he needs to do without you.
Right, because they need that helpmate.
Yes. Literally, that's exactly
behind every good man is a greater woman.
Greater.
Okay. And we build them up, we pour into them, we encourage, we love on them, and that makes them go out and do what they need to do, and they reciprocate it back to us, and it's a cycle. Yeah. And so I'm trying to prepare myself for that. I don't want to come to him and he right, and then I got this attitude and you ain't gonna tell me what to do.
So. I'm working on it, okay?
Me too.
I'm working. I'm last week I was in a like a kind of athletic competition because this is my health girl era.
Yeah, I saw something on Instagram.
But the whole time when I looked back at the footage, the one person that stayed in my face all day was my husband. He was literally right there. And he was like, that Sunday, he was like, man, my back hurt. Okay, and I was like, I said, what your back doing hurting? It's like, I was the one working out. You was just standing there. But when I look back at the footage, it was because he was literally hunched over the whole time. Come on, baby, you got it. Coach. You got it. Coaching me. And then, and even in some cases, when I went back to look at the footage, I'm like looking dead at him. He's talking, and I'm like, because it's sometimes where I'm like, you can't take this from me. I got this. I run this. But like I said, I'm working on it, and I'm learning to take in what he's saying. I know that was off topic, but
no, girl, it definitely has everything to do with it. Yes. Have you ever felt competition or?
Not with others, but just my own life goals. Like I want to do this by a certain age, so. And when I let that go, life got a lot easier for me.
So when did you choose to let that go? When you were like, it's okay that I haven't done or whatever at whatever age?
Last year, really. Like.
Oh, really?
Okay, like it was recently. Yeah, it was.
Did you have like a or epiphany or some type of revelation? Like, you know what? I'm just gonna chill out.
Cause I was sad all the time. Like I was sad all the time. And I was like, I really. I didn't. I didn't want to tell everybody.
I'm here.
But I was like, I can't be sad all the time. I want to be happy for my baby, enjoy time with her and just enjoy life. So, I let it all go. And
good for you.
Yep.
And you happy.
Thank you. Yes.
It's free.
Yes, it really is.
Yep, it looks good on you.
No, thank you. It's when the the teacher of the year.
Yes, come on, TLTY. Yes, come on, Miss Wanda. You did that, honey. Have you been on your trip or whatever, y'all?
No, not yet.
But they taking y'all.
They didn't tell us yet.
I know they took me to New York last year.
I know. I hope it's somewhere.
Someplace tropical so you can wear a two-piece, honey.
Yes.
Girl, yes.
Get you something.
I hope it's somewhere nice though. Yeah, and warm.
You deserve it.
Yeah, you deserve it.
I really do. Seriously.
But one thing I wanted to add, like listening to everybody, is like I think like the real competition is coming from everybody's competition in their head. And it's not that we are competing with each other as it has been portrayed in social media, on TV, but in our minds really is where the competition really is. And it's like some of us we take it a further step and don't care who we step on to get where we want to be by a certain age at a certain time. But for some of us, it's literally, I'm just trying to make sure that I have this, $3 million mansion, this, Mercedes, and these 2 kids and the little white dog by 35, and still ain't happy. I want the bags and the Louis. I love shoes, but now I'm into shoes, but tennis shoes, because comfort, comfort over style any day. But yeah, I just realized that I had an epiphany as I'm sitting here listening to all of you ladies. I'm like, so none of us really are truly in competition with each other. It's the competition in our mind that's rooted in our childhood traumas, in our insecurities as women. And so I think, like I said, get you some therapy. Get you some therapy. Therapy. I can't, because in the Black community for a very long time,
it's a stigma. It's like you got to be crazy, or you have these issues and whatnot. But
they talking to a psychiatrist,
right?
And but instead of, and that was happening down at the church, but that's another conversation. Instead of helping one another, they shunned. If you went in and if you went and got help, they shunned. Like, it was like, oh, but no, I went and got me some help. You need to do the same thing, because some of the things that you are living in and some of the things you are doing are dysfunctional. And the dysfunction is spilling into those behaviors that we see as Black women, of being insecure, being mean to one another, putting in that colorism, and all that stuff. Therapy.
I think
Lots of it.
I think it's important, like with us getting older and stuff, that we just have to realize that personal success can look different, but be okay that Lana's personal success, Tommi, your personal success is not going to look like mine. It's not going to look like hers, but that's okay. So if you do get married by the time you want to, and then I'm still over here waiting, whatever, getting a little, it's still not happening. But that's okay. And like some of us in the sisterhood do not want to be married. Like, the dating pool is just not what it used to be. Like our parents and grandparents and how they were married for 30, 40, 50 plus years. The dating pool, somebody told me at the place that we work at, somebody, that has P in it, or something. Like, she said this, somebody who worked at the workplace. That it's just not the same. So personal success, like I said, it's okay. Be okay with the fact that it doesn't have to look like what you thought it was going to look like when you were in your 20s. Because life is just different. Men are different. Living is different. Children are different. So I just think we need to give ourselves that grace. I think that's important.
I don't think men are as different as we like to think. It's just more exposed. Because Granddaddy had a whole nother family.
Leroy, he did, on the other side of town.
On the other side of town. But there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, there was no TikTok. There were no cell phones. There was no TikTok. There was, it was, everything.
About my Uncle Edward. I'm just saying. I ain't trying to stick on but I'm just saying it out loud.
It's just, but you realize that grandma, or great grandma, great grandmama, it's like, baby, you was living in dysfunction
all the time.
And so we have to start breaking those, as they would call, generational curses, and those things that are stigma in the Black community are deeply rooted in dysfunction and craziness.
Yes, it is.
So
Okay. My last talking point, ladies, what can we do as Black women to rebuild a closer, more authentic connection within our community? Is there a conversation that needs to be had with Black men so that they understand that women's perception of themselves falls heavily on their approval or disapproval? So what can we do to rebuild the sisterhood and rebuild a more authentic connection with other Black women?
Oh,
that might be a loaded question, but I'm interested to hear what y'all have to say, because I really
having a conversation like we're having now and putting it out there for people to hear and, maybe change their perspective or hear a different perspective. So I think we're doing part of the work now. Another, I think one of the things that we can do to rebuild is celebrate your fellow Black women where they are. It's like, she may be in this large, lavish house living her best life, and you have, another sister girl over here who, single mom, not married yet, but we're celebrating everybody where they are and letting them know, like, hey, your plan, hey, that's your plan, but I'm gonna celebrate and support you where you are and be happy for you, and support whatever decision. Well, I'm not gonna support every decision, because if it's crazy, I got to let you know, sister girl, that's not gonna work. Crazy, right? Okay, I'm gonna put my little 2 cents in there. You may not like it, but I'm just giving you. Hey, but you do. If you like it, I love it. Okay. That's key word for it. That's stupid. But yeah, just celebrating one another, calling each other out when we're wrong, and accepting that criticism, not as a dig or shade or anything like that, but like really coming from a genuine place, like, hey, I think you should not have said this to such and such. I think I think you should apologize to that person and not take it as, oh, you taking up for that person or you like that person better. No, I just think right is right, wrong is wrong. And whether you my friend or not, I'm not going to support your chaos. Especially if you've been wanting peace and you just talk about protect your peace, girl, you inviting chaos. So I got to call you out on entertaining chaos. So the biggest thing I can say is definitely celebrating one another, and yes, having a conversation with Black men, but also having a conversation with self. Thanks. To see what is deeply rooted to why you feel the way you feel.
You're saying self-reflection. Period.
That self-reflection, like I have been self-reflecting since 2020. So
that's when it started for everybody.
Right. Yes. It came, and it literally, what really brought it on was grief. I lost my grandmother to COVID in 2020. So when I was going through the grieving process, it gave me time to like really think about things, because that was the matriarch, and everything I was doing was to not only make her proud, but to make my mom proud, and the everybody else, but mostly to make her proud. So now that this person is gone, it's like, let me stop and reflect. And that's when I really started to open my eyes to a lot of stuff and listen to a lot more, and celebrate people where they are, because I had a jealous spirit. I can admit that. I can admit that I had a jealous spirit. Like I would see some of my friends who were having children and things like that. I don't have kids. I would like kids. But
I was like that for a little minute. I thought about this.
So baby showers, pregnancy announcements, all of those, they really struck a chord in me. It just made me real uncomfortable. But when I was like, you know what? In God's timing. Because one of the things I can't say, I enjoy my freedom. I do. I enjoy the freedom that I have right now. So in God's timing, when He decides, to give me and my husband children, we will be ready for them.
Abraham and Sarah did it.
Listen, I don't want to be that old though. It's like, now God,
right?
I don't want children at 60,
right,
or 90. Get to where my back and my knees still work pretty good,
right?
But celebrating one another, self-reflection, and yes, talking to the men to say, because sometimes the things that we think they desire is pretty much just a fantasy, and typically once you experience your fantasy, you want something new.
Exactly.
So
yes, that is so true. Ooh, girl, you said
I'm sorry. Have you ever been a mental health counselor, or have you? Or something like just the stuff like how you give your information, and like it just sounds like it's like really.
No, I've never.
Yeah, very much so.
I told y'all, therapy since 2021.
Therapy,
because
It
what
just
I
sounds
tell
so
you,
introspective.
Yeah.
Like it's just it just sounds so healing. It just feel like so much of a healing just to hear.
Yeah, because
say all of
I
that.
lived in dysfunction for so long, and I have the stories I could tell you. Okay, the stories I could tell you. We don't have enough time, but the stories I could tell you, you would be surprised. And then I get a lot of the way that I present information. I get it from my mom. She's the same way. She's a minister herself. My grandmother was a minister. My dad is a minister. So maybe that's where I get it from. I don't know. But it's just, I've done a lot of self-reflection, and I've done a lot of therapy. I can't push that enough. I was literally, it's to the point where I wasn't sleeping. I was eating everything in sight, and I'm a type 2 diabetic. So eating everything in sight for a type 2 diabetic is diabolical. It's like, girl, which toe do you want cut off? Because that's what's finna happen.
Keep it up.
Not the toes.
The toes, fingers,
Yeah.
and with diabetics, something is wrong when you start feel tingling in your limbs and stuff. And I started to feel that tingling.
Yeah.
I said, no, Lord, I don't want to go out like that. I can't be around here limping. I'm too cute. I'm sorry. And then if it's preventable, if you can prevent it, but yeah, I'm a hush. Y'all talk.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah,
You
me
gonna say
too.
No.
I think the main thing is self-reflection. You have to, because again, like you said, most of everything that we're dealing with is coming from us. We're projecting, and so it is causing certain. We're thinking things that are not the truth because of the, But I agree. Growing up in dysfunction, we're so used to the dysfunction that we're like, when we're in relationships, if it's not dysfunctional, then it's not right. Something ain't wrong. Something ain't right. Like, it has to be dysfunctional. And so therapy is literally what helped heal me, because I had to understand that anything that I wanted couldn't or didn't need to be tied to a person or to an idea. Because if it was tied to that, for example, if I'm expecting a certain thing by 30, then if I'm 28 and I'm meeting a guy or I'm dating a guy, then I'm going to be putting him in that place. And my success or the ability of me achieving that goal is going to depend on him. So if he doesn't, now I'm resentful to him when I put him in a place that he didn't deserve to be in the first place.
Right.
So if we stop tying our desires to items or people, things like that, and really self-reflecting and understanding what we truly deep down desire, then it makes it a lot easier. But not only that, when it comes to communicating with the man and stuff like that, like they have to be introspective as well. They have to self-reflect and look at the things that they're desiring and thinking about the way they treat women. Like I notice adults are literally grown kids. They have temper tantrums, but in adult form. Like you can just watch. And so I'm just like, we have to grow up,
man.
First of all, because if we're going to do what you're saying, we got to start with the young. And the generation coming behind us is not seeing what we're expecting them to produce. So they're confused. That's why they're acting out like they're acting. It's temper tantrums. They're seeking attention because they're not being taught. So what I'm trying to do is I'm going to, what we're doing the Sequoia Sweethearts with our girls, and we're basically mentoring and teaching them, and we're going to pour into them and encourage them and help them with their goals and doing what we should be doing for each other. We're going to teach them how to do that for each other, and that's going to naturally spread. So that's how I'm starting. That's part of how I'm starting. But I feel like we need to have compassion for each other. I heard somebody say one time, you can't hate from up close. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. You can't. Because you were looking at a person and you're thinking a certain thing, just like how some of the teachers are with the kids. You have made up in your mind who this person is, what they are, whatever you think, you stereotype them. And you don't even know, like the child that's coming in, acting out, you don't know that this boy ain't ate in 3 days. He hungry. He ain't eat to school. He ain't eat over the weekend. So he coming in Monday and he in a whole different mood because he's hungry. And he don't know how to express that because he's never been taught. And so we have so many angry adults that have these attitudes, and they're bringing outside what they're dealing with outside inside, and they're adding another layer to these children's traumas already. And it bothers me because I'm like, my therapy helped me realize that I was bleeding on my son. And I realized I had to change me because if I didn't, then I was going to. I'm creating a monster in my son because I'm not loving him properly, and I'm demanding things, and I'm not teaching him. I'm not doing what I needed. So I had to change so that I could make sure that I would, do the right thing by my son and make sure I was raising a healthy child emotionally, having emotional intelligence.
That's good.
So now that, I feel like I've done that, I've understood what compassion really is. And so when I listen to people, I'm like, oh man, it makes me look at them differently, because you don't know this person is late every single day because they walking 2 miles to work. So when you find out what those things are that they're dealing with and they're not telling you, then it makes you start to change how you think about them. And now you're not so much looking at them with a certain attitude or demeanor. You're now like, oh, how can I help? I want to,
Yeah.
So I feel like if that is what people did, we wouldn't have these problems. No, none of them.
Listening to understand versus listening to reply.
I've heard that. I've heard that before. Yes. Listen to understand. Yep.
So, but yeah.
Okay. Well, anybody have any final words for Battles of the Sisterhood?
No.
T-O-T-Y.
Well, I don't know. I guess just seeing the positive in all your situations. So if somebody does look at you like, don't try to think of it as like, dang, why she looking at me? Just like, maybe she just think I'm cute or something. Yeah. And just keep it pushing. Like, don't just think about everything as a negative that's going on.
Yeah. That's real right there too.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
Yep. Anybody else?
What about you?
Cherie?
I mean, I'm pretty much agreeing with you all, with what you all said about having that conversation with yourself, the self introspection. I feel like that's like I feel like that's the healthiest thing that we can do as Black women, is really kind of address it with yourself first. So like you said, so that you don't project it onto other people, and then it becomes something that it doesn't need to be.
Right.
Yeah, definitely, and heal those childhood traumas.
Yeah.
Even some adulthood traumas we have to heal, because if you don't, I promise you it's going to show up in other ways.
Right.
It may not show up in the way that you think, but it's gonna show its ugly face sooner or later. So you have to address it. You have to address it. That mean mug that you may have in the morning, or that mean demeanor, is probably deep rooted into something that you like, I never thought about that. It's like, you need to start, because people think you got a real funky attitude.
Yeah.
They think, but I know you're nice, but
Right.
other people, they don't know your story. I know your story.
Right.
So maybe you should tell your own self your story and then realize, okay, yeah. So self-reflection, therapy,
It's key.
therapy.
Yeah.
And love. We just need to
Love, yes.
Do everything in
Most
love.
definitely.
So happy.
Compassion and understanding one another. Like, you may look at, you don't know that person's story.
Yep.
You don't know their story. So don't assume, because my granddad always said, if you assume, you make a
Yeah.
you and me.
Sure do now. All right. Well, that is all the time that we have for today. I would like to thank my lovely guests for their input on the topic today. We encourage you to join the conversation. So listen, feel free to give us some feedback and drop a comment on this video. If you enjoy what we do here at the Smart Girl Podcast, don't hesitate to subscribe to the channel. Tell all of your friends to tell their friends that there is a network out here for millennials to chat about all the things. Let's keep it going. May your brilliance continue to enlighten the road ahead. Dare to be different in a world full of copies. Stay sharp, stay smart.